please give a warm welcome to writer, director, Guillermo del Toro. Stay, Sophia. Stay.
Thank you.
And please give a warm welcome to Jacob Elordi.
Oh, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, Guillermo. When I introduced, I said, whenever you come to town, it warms up the heart.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
We should call a cardiologist.
Yeah, well, you should stop going to the Milpas taquerias.
I was there.
I know you were.
By the way, I hurried.
Yeah, but the last time you did this, you brought for the whole theater.
Yeah.
And how come you didn't bring any?
Well, because it was in a hurry.
Okay.
But El Bajío, order the gorditas.
I mentioned just briefly, when I first saw the film, I started texting you like crazy. I was a little kid in Panama, and I read the book when I was 10 years old, and I saw this parallel with Jesus when I read the book, and nobody had ever made that connection until you made this film.
Yeah, it took Panama and Mexico to get it finally into the screen, because I think that also my history with the myth is very curious, because on Sunday after Mass at 8 a.m., we went back home and I saw the whale movie for the first time. And that day, I actually found my Messiah. My grandma found Jesus. I found Boris Karloff. So it was really, I said, that's me, right? And then at 11, 1 year after you read it, older, I read the book and I said, I'm going to make this movie, because this is not the movie I saw, and I would love to go in a time machine and tell that kid, you will one day, and it stayed with me for 50 years.
Well, you did see the Messiah correlation, the fact that he's created
100%.
He's thrown in sacrifice.
No, and the movie is very Labs Catholic, because I'm Labs, thank God. But I think that
I say retiring, recovering Catholic.
I'm a recovering Catholic, but the cosmology is so strong, and one of the things I wondered as a kid is, if God and Jesus are consubstantial, why did he send him to be crucified? And the answer is to find about pain and forgiveness and expiation, blah, blah, blah. So all that is in the movie. I mean, for the last 50 years, I have written about 5 prologues for Frankenstein editions or studies. I have deepened my knowledge and love for the Romantics, both Shelley, Lord Byron, Percy, Polidori, the painters, Caspar David Friedrich, all the things surrounding them, Fuseli, the war, the Napoleonic Wars, blah, 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 and all of that, all those 50 years are in the movie.
So much I gotta ask you, and Jacob, I'm not ignoring you.
Please ignore me.
I just a few questions to him, and I'll get to you.
Stay with him.
There is a circular aspect to this film, not just the visuals where we see circles throughout, but also there's a circularity to the script.
Correct.
When we first start, is a dawn, and
it ends with a dawn.
In the back of the captain.
The captain.
And then it ends
in
at
front.
dawn with in the reverse shot, but now with the monster. Tell us about the circularity aspect.
Well, I wanted to have the circularity because it gets broken at the end with the act of the first human act of the creature, full human act, which is for the longest time you have 2 characters. One that is completely certain, which most dictators are. Victor is completely certain, and it's always big, and then it ends small. And the creature is reactive. If you give him love, he loves you. If you give him hatred, he hates you. And at the end, when they forgive each other into becoming human, the creature liberates that ship. And is the first, they were cruel to him, but he will free them. And the circularity gets broken, and the dawn finally is witnessed by him. And I think that the important level of the structure is those circles also, if you notice in the mirrors, they contain the creature and Victor, and Victor is alone before creating the creature, and then they're together in the mirror constantly. You know, Victor is alone one more time when he thinks the creature is gone, and they give each other life. They need each other to exist, which is what happens, particularly in a Latin family. The figure of the father is God. You know, he's not a guy that is God. You are thrown into this world by a God that doesn't care to teach you, like John Milton would phrase it, but what happens is at one point you say, I'm going to do exactly the opposite of my dad. And at 41 you realize you are your dad, which is a moment of great terror. And then you have the chance to stopping it. And that circularity only gets broken by will, the will to forgive. And the movie's great hope is for grace, acceptance, and forgiveness.
Mm-hmm. On the same line, the red and the mother. You know, when we first, see the mother as a red room, she's the only one that's wearing red. And then, when she dies, then Victor picks up, the red. You've color-coded the heck out of this film. Well,
first of all, the novel is an epistolary novel, and I wanted to create a sort of contained epistolary audiovisual language. The camera, it starts with the blue, white, and gold with the circular structure. Then the childhood is the way Victor remembers it. Very simple, black, white, and red. And the red continues on him and all the acts of creation throughout the movie. And Elizabeth, who's Mia Goth plays...
But that means that the act of creation comes from the
death,
mother.
from death.
Oh, from
the death of the mother. And he realized in trying to fight death, he has been serving it. But that's why Mia Goth plays both parts.
Yeah.
The mother and Elizabeth. And then when Victor remembers his prime, all the colors come in. And then when the creature starts narrating, all the colors become straw, wood, earth, moss. And the camera style changes. Victor's is swooping and cranes and this and that, and the creature is much more pastoral. And it becomes a fairy tale. Yeah. The movie becomes a fairy tale, and then, so that's the way you address audiovisually the epistolary nature of the novel. Anyway.
Speaking of fairy tale, Jacob, the creature is summoned and guided by animals. First, we see, is it the crows that are on the fields, and then there's deer that guide. There's,
nice.
Tell us about the connection between the creature and animals.
I think this occurred naturally, and then it worked when we were making the film because Guillermo had a similar idea. But to me, the creature was nature. His impulses is sort of true. He can only be true. He's the first thing. And I think animals follow the same kind of line, I suppose. There's a purity to their lack of consciousness or something like that, which was helpful when the creature's first born and he is unconscious. But also, there's just something in Guillermo's movies, like the mice are very cute. You know, there is a Disney element to that, which is fantastic.
He becomes a Disney princess.
Yeah.
No, but the beauty for me was both cruelty and beauty come from nature. You know, the acceptance of the son at the end is something I believe. The world is entirely imperfect. The world is cruel and the world is beautiful. Is both things at the same time. And the wolf is also part of nature. You know, it's not just the mice or the ravens. The ravens are feasting on the dead. It's not exactly cozy. But what is beautiful is they identify the creature as one of them, for good or bad, for fighting or for allowing them to feed them the berries. It's one of them. And then the creature, gains knowledge. I mean, in this world, God creates the world and the devil gives it names. And divides us by giving us names and things to distinguish. And I think the beautiful thing is the creature gains that knowledge, and with it comes pain. And then eventually with grace comes answers. So, I think the moment on the sun, for me, came from an experience when my dad was kidnapped in '98. In the middle of the kidnapping, I would resent the sun. I said, why does it rise every morning in spite of my pain? It doesn't care about my pain. And then the days kept going for 70-something days, and I realized my pain ignored the sun. And I better accept it. Accept that the world has the grace of rising, and dawn and dusk will happen in spite of whatever I think is horrifying.
Jacob, your performance is out of this world. It's surreal. It's so good.
Thank you very much.
And I noticed the physicality. He mentioned that he's a baby at first, and we watch you move like a baby. Then, as the movie progresses, your movement shifts. After he experiences trauma, your body shifts. Instead of being open-chested,
It closes in.
It closes in. Tell us about calibrating and working out all the different movements.
The first thing is really just reflection, because when I walk into this theater, I walk in like this. It was kind of just charting my own development as from my sort of first memories, the flashes that I have and the feelings that I have, and then into when into high school, and then the world tells you what you are, and then you believe that you are that thing, and then your shoulders drop a little bit, all that kind of stuff. But then I had then the idea that's in the screenplay, and we had talked about the idea of his body possessing memory, and
the different parts.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. And then I remember I was writing in this journal with my left hand, and I'm right-handed, and the disconnect between what the sort of flurry of thoughts that I had, and the inability to use the hand, and then all of a sudden you start to get these cramps and things. So just sort of isolating things and thinking about it. And then Guillermo had this wonderful idea to study Buto dance, which is this Japanese dance of death. It's about like the reanimation of a corpse, and it deals with the elements, like your lungs are fire, your feet are the earth, or your feet are fire and your lungs are the earth, and I got to train with somebody on that, and that sort of I guess helped me track and chart the development from pre-conscious to infant to consciousness to teenager to adult, which is, in metaphor, is forgiveness. So I had a great screenplay, as well, like that told me sort of where to go.
Tell me about his relationship with his hands, because there's a lot of emphasis in your movement with the hands.
Well, the first thing when you watched a baby, when something takes its attention, its eyes go, then its head goes, and then it's grab. The first thing is action. But then also just historically in monster films, when you watch Boris Karloff in James Whale's film, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, how his hands are, the fact that he chose to sort of splay them out. And I wanted, in all the monster films, if you focus on their hands, and then Guillermo showed me a bunch of silent films from the 20s and the 30s, and they're so expressive, but succinctly expressive, so it's not just sort of doing a thing. And then there's this shot in, I think it was from Kronos, I had, he's going from the sun.
And also
And then the pale.
Yeah, I like hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is something, I remember you said to me one day, you said something about fairies, and then you said your hands have grown.
Yeah.
You said, and Bradley, you said the hands grow 2 sizes when you step onto the set. So much came from sort of that place.
Yeah, Emil Jannings, and we saw Ivan the Terrible, The Last Man. We saw Murnau. Because the hands are very expressive. Jannings trails his arms like this, and all these things. He had 4 weeks on the ground to prepare, because the previous actor bailed on us 9 weeks before we started shooting. So this man prepped 4 weeks.
Yeah, kudos. So much to talk. The production design and the costumes are out of this world. We talked about the circularity, how everything tells the story, and the costumes jaw-dropping. Tell us about, like Elizabeth's dress. We see scientific things. We see the spine.
Yeah, the spinal cord. The veils are X-rays.
And
The
then
best of Victor is the circulatory system.
he's like Mick Jagger.
Yeah. He
And
is
then,
like Mick Jagger.
And then, but the one thing I gotta ask you is the wedding dress with the
wrappings.
with the wrappings that
Like
recalls the Bride of
Bride of
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein, yeah. No, the idea, all of that. First of all, I've said this before here, but we don't do eye candy. We do eye protein.
Okay.
We are telling you a story. It's nutritious, and what the first thing I do is I dictate what I think, and then they start riffing with all of that circularity, the color palette, blah blah blah. But also then I say we don't exist separately. Production design is cinematography, cinematography is wardrobe, wardrobe is production design. We exist as a single department, makeup and hair. We're not going in different directions because we are all there to serve one thing. When that creature steps in, you better believe it's real. And if you put a creature like that in a Sidney Lumet movie, you go, what the fuck was that, right? But if you put it at the center of a visual bullseye, it feels organic when it emerges. And what we are doing is telling the story. So I can give you, seriously, like we could do a 4-hour masterclass.
Let's do it.
Language. But yeah, let's do it. Why the fuck not? Let's do it. I'll come back for the gorditas and stay for the class.
Yeah.
But to give you a few parallels, like the coffin, the roses around the mother are the roses around the bonnet of Elizabeth. Elizabeth, instantly when she meets the creature, they're in the same color palette, goldens, purples. She's the only one with purple in the movie, which are the colors on the skin of the creature. Immediately, she's the only one that she uncovers herself for him, because the veils are used as memory. The way he remembers his mother is under a veil, you know. And then we start, little by little, Elizabeth becomes the creature. She inherits the bandages. She goes pale at the end, like the creature. The creature starts, the language in common they have is the spinal cord, which is as in common with the corpse. Victor is the only one that maintains the red, but Elizabeth gets red too. Very subtle. The necklace, the coral necklace, the stain at the end. Harlander is all dressed in blue and gold, you know, and William is all earth. So the shapes and when I say something is cinematography is production design, think about it for a second. The style of the movie is what is called one single source lighting. Means all the lights are outside the set. We don't have any lights.
You did that in
inside.
Mimic.
We did that with Mimic, and we did that with Shape to some degree, and Crimson Peak 100%. And that means that our banks of giant lights outside the set shooting in. That means you're doing gaffering and cinematography with the set, you know, and you are color correcting the clothes with the light on the set. So I tell, none of us exists independent. We all, and we have intense dialogues between the departments.
My curiosity, talk to me about the rosary, which is also red, and it's such a powerful emblem. It made me think about religion, it made me think about science.
Yeah, if you watch all my movies, half of them have rosaries. I'm sorry, but what it is to me is both Victor and Elizabeth are serving one type of faith. Elizabeth is actually serving life. There's a scene we took out, unfortunately, but it will be on the physical release because there will be a physical release. You know, she's in the convent and she faces Jesus and touches the same wound and she touches on the creature. And that's where we introduce her and the rosary and the cross. And she's serving life because unlike Victor, she doesn't want anything out of it. She sees the creature for what it is.
Yeah.
A creature that doesn't belong like she doesn't belong. And identifies the divine in the creature. Whereas Victor, you can see the way he treats the bodies. The head's going to a sack, the parts going to a sack, throws them out. Everything for Victor is utilitarian, and he thinks he's serving life, but he's serving death. So that's why the archangel reveals himself to not be life, but to be death. So those are commonalities. Both are serving a religious symbol, a quest, but she's questing for life.
Jacob, your voice in this film, walk us through it. Mind-blowing. Tell us about the guttural sound, and then when he's learning to speak, we hear the intonations from people that have taught you how to speak.
Yeah, great catch. Yeah, well, the first thing was just purely physically in the script. There was a moment where he gets shot in the throat. So I was thinking about how I'm going to change the voice when his sort of voice box recovers. But I didn't really have the voice down while we were shooting. And I would get a text I'd do it and then get a text in the evening that said more gravel. But I worked with this fantastic coach, I suppose, named Jerry Grenell, and he actually worked with Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. So it was this amazing kind of legendary guy, and we practiced Mongolian throat singing and things like that. But the most specific thing was David Bradley, who plays the blind man, is from Yorkshire. So the person that he learns to speak from has a Yorkshire accent, and then the memories he has of language immediately are from Victor, which is RP, which is like a refined sort of English. So I tried to sort of toe the line accent-wise between the two of them, but then also considering the memory of his muscles and different legs. Who knows where his spinal cord came from? I don't know what that person sounds like, and then it kind of just organically became the voice when I put. The last piece of prosthetics was the teeth, and when I put the teeth in, the first sound I made was the voice, because it came from behind the teeth, whereas I speak out the front of my mouth. But it just organically happened. I didn't know what I was doing. I had ideas. I put the teeth in, said a line, and then it was sort of in the space that it needed to be in.
And you spend 10 hours a day with getting the prosthetics on.
Yeah, it was amazing. Thanks.
During those 10 hours, what did you went over lines? You meditated? You thought about your language and
no,
poisoning me?
I knew my lines. That was the one thing I knew I was going to be able to do, was remember the lines. But I guess, you say I had 4 weeks to get ready, but I used those 10 hours to sort of just go inwards in a way that you don't usually have the freedom or the opportunity to do, because life is so loud. I was really put into a place where I was completely left alone for 10 hours to consider the day, to consider the film, to consider what it means to be working with Guillermo. It was this, for me, in the way that my life has gone, it's a monumental moment. So I think I used those 10 hours to just process the sheer fact that I was there.
When I was thinking about you and the 10 hours and the fact that you're playing somebody who's being created, did it cross your mind? It's like, I have all this makeup people creating.
Yeah, absolutely. And Guillermo had said to me when we first spoke on the phone, he said, this is holy. You're taking the sacrament when you sit in that chair. You can't resent the prosthetics. They have to be, you have to worship them. You have to go through something like a metamorphosis. And it happened every single day. There's a point where the sort of last face piece goes on, and then they'll start working on the body. And by the time the face is on, your body's starting to go numb, and the blood's moving in different ways. And then you can kind of go in and you wonder, okay, why is my leg going numb there? And then you can move it, and you can really get in touch with every single point of your body, just sort of with concentration,
Tremendous. Tell me, Guillermo, about the color of the skin, how beautiful he is. I rarely use this word, pearlescent quality.
Pearlescent, yeah. No,
big word.
From the beginning, I always thought the vases was an alabaster statue. If you see Kronos and Blade, in both, I tried to rehearse sort of this makeup at the end of Kronos and with the older vampire in Blade, but I never had Mike Hill. Mike Hill is in the less than 1% of the makeup effects artists that will not create a creature, will create a character. And not only that, it will help the acting already is sort of cooked in the sculpture and the design. And what we did is I sent him photos of St. Bartholomew, a statue in alabaster that is in Rome, where he's flayed, and you can see the lines of the muscles. And I said it has to be as beautiful as a newly minted human being, or like the essence of a soul, and therefore a saint or a religious figure. Then the head is patterned after phrenology diagrams, the science of phrenology, the study of the character through the human head and so forth. And the colors are so subtle, the variations between oyster gray, nicotine yellow, all that came from Mike designing the lines. The line that crosses his forehead is, in my opinion, one of the greatest makeup designs. I did it for 15 years, but I've been a student of it for all my life. I know I cannot sculpt well, but I can sculpt. I cannot paint well, but I can paint. I can torture very well. And Mike and I would go over each line. The lines on the head all point to the eyes. You end up looking at his eyes. And that's why the eyes become so magnetic and so expressive. And this line that makes him sad and frowned, and it's a masterpiece of design.
And tell us why you moved away from seeing stitches like we've seen.
First of all, I was not making an homage. I was making a movie. I was making a movie based on a piece of literature that lived with me and a biography of Mary Shelley that fused with my own over the process of 50 years. I was not doing a film called Riff. So I never thought about it. I just said, we'll avoid all of that. We have to act like we're telling the story one way for the first time. And I use this metaphor often, but I say it's Johnny Cash singing Hurt. It's him singing it, maybe it's Trent Reznor, but it's him, his voice. You're not gonna think about 9 Inch Nails. You're just gonna sing the fuck out of it. And I really think that is what I do is I try to rephrase with Pinocchio, try to rephrase with Shape of Water. It doesn't have to be an erudite cinephile riff. It's things that are organic to my DNA. And I try to sing it with my voice, my lungs, my pain. So, I never even consider it.
Yeah.
I mean, the punctual homages, like the shot on the face, which is Christopher Lee on Hammer, or Christopher Lee on Dracula when the eyes tilt. They're very, very punctual.
Yeah. Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah, Bride of Frankenstein, the bandages and the streak of white hair.
Yeah.
But his head was done of 4 or 5 different colors. You don't see it as much, but there's a reddish, gray, because he was made of several scalps. So Mike and I patterned the hair after the pieces that formed the head.
I want to ask you about something that I've noticed in your journey that started with Shape of Water, where the creature is not 100% innocent. There's an ambiguity that we start seeing in the Shape of Water. That creature kills, and now we have also. It's not before it was black and white, where the creature was bad, and then the villains. The creature was good, and then tell us about this now becoming more complex, more ambiguous.
Well, I'm 61. And when you turn 61, you realize you're the hero and the villain of your own story. You become, you're the antagonist and the protagonist of your life. And I realized that speaking in absolutes is useless. Speaking in relatives, if we're talking about imperfection, we might as well have imperfect heroes and imperfect villains. The one trick the novel does that is beautiful, and I try to do it, is we start and you feel, the first 20 minutes of the film, you say the creature is a monster. It destroys that ship and those sailors in a brutal, efficient manner. And Victor is a saint. I even give him that halo. Oh, my childhood was, and he's such a nice man. And then you realize he's not Jesus, he's Charles Manson. And by that time, you're already in his biography. And then you realize why the creature attacked the ship in the manner he attacked it. So you see both points of view. It's not one good point of view and a bad point of view. You kind of understand the jealousy, the perfectionism, the pain that Victor has, and you understand why the creature is like that. Mary Shelley in the book, the creature has a very shocking passage when he strangles young William, who's 5 years old, and he says, I loved it. I loved choking the life out of that throat. And the rage of the creature in the novel is not, that's why the first edition, 1818, is the one to read. Because that's the one she edits with Percy Shelley. Second edition, she edits with her father, who's a really iffy character in my book. and in her books, because she writes three books about tyrannical fathers, and the final edition, don't even read it. Because it's self-censoring of the highest order.
I'm glad we went back to the book because when I first read the book, there's one scene that blew me away and scared me, was the one where Victor wakes up and the creature is right there, which we'd never seen in movies before.
No.
Tell
the
us
first, I prayed and prayed and prayed. Well, I'm lapsed. I stopped praying at some point. But I was hoping nobody would do it.
Catholic. What are you doing praying?
I know. But I'm an atheist, thank God, right? So the thing with that scene, I was hoping nobody would take it, because it was the same scene that startled me as a kid, and is the core of the novel. The core of the novel is the creation without the agency of a female agent, which is very deep in Mary Shelley's id. And what creates Mary Shelley's identity is the fusion of giving birth and giving death at the same time, or being given birth and killing your mother at the same time. And she goes through 3 miscarriages or premature baby deaths early on while she's writing, and is really that moment where the man wakes up in the bed and sees a thing that is alive without the agency of God, without the agency of woman, is so beautiful, terrible, poetic, and daunting, and is in many ways the essence of the book. And I was able to do it. And to me, the rest is alchemy. It's not chemical. You don't translate one element on the novel to one element in visual without processing it through a different narrative. It's an adaptation. So you have to say, how can I evoke the same emotions that novel, 200 years old, evoked in me or you or the reader through the film, Yeah.
Jacob, I've been admiring your work for a few years now, and the fact that you work with Emerald Fennell, you work for Sofia Coppola, and now you work with Guillermo del Toro. Tell us how has it been for you?
What a gallery of rogues.
Yeah, freaks. It's been exactly what. Thanks for saying that, and it's been, I hope, what it looks like. It is. I've surpassed my wildest dreams, and my experience in movies has gone beyond anything that I ever could have conjured or hoped for, and I get to watch these movies. I get to be in them. I get to drive here and see the creature on the side of this thing, and it's too surreal to be able to give a real answer.
What was your reaction when you saw yourself playing the creature?
In the film?
Yeah, when you saw the film and you saw what you did.
Well, I cried. I did. I cried. Yeah. Because it's the first time too. You're not in jeans or a t-shirt, so you can really. You're not going, oh, why does the right-hand side of my face look like that? Or why is my nose? Everyone does it. Everyone can be like, we're very serious actors, but everyone goes, oh, geez, like, does my nose really look like that from that angle? And but it was the first time I got to experience the film as just a consumer because the makeup gave me the freedom to watch the movie and not judge it,
Roger, I want to add in that list the amazing work he does in the Paul Schrader film.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's astounding in that film. Absolutely beautiful calibration.
Thank you. There is a line in the film, Guillermo, that stuck with me. Having reached the end of the world, there was no horizon left. Achievement felt natural.
Unnatural.
Unnatural.
And it frightened me so.
How do you feel about that line?
I feel like that right now. I feel like that right now. You dream about something all your life, then you get there, and then you exit through the gift shop and you go, what the fuck am I going to do now? It's like, it is 50 years in arriving here. But there's hope in this, because you have to reinvent yourself. There's 2 options. You have something to say, you say it. You feel you have nothing else to say, you get quiet. There's that joke Billy Wilder said when he accepted the Oscars, where he said, a man goes to the doctor and says, doctor, I cannot pee. And the doctor says, how old are you? He said, 81. He said, you peed enough. And also, having peed enough, I still have the urge, so I'm going to pee a little more.
Well, on that note, thank you. Thank you so much.
May you pee abundantly.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you very much.